This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Get so caught up in who the Browns are going to bring in that we don't think about if those guys that the Browns are bringing in benefit some of the guys on the roster. There's winners and losers in every free agency period. And in this two-part video series, we will be talking about the Browns winners and losers. Today, we're talking about the winners for the Cleveland Browns in free agency in 2022. And the first winner I'm going to start out with is Deshaun Watson and Ken Dorsey. Both for the same reasons, right? The Browns have invested in pass catcher, just getting that extra wide receiver, right? Because you can say the Browns are pretty much fine with David Njoku, Amari Cooper, and then Elijah Moore as the third option. The rule of thumb with wide receivers generally is, hey, when you think you have enough, add one more, and now you're good, right? And that's what adding Jerry Jeudy means. It gives you a ton of flexibility. If you're Ken Dorsey, you get three guys who could play the slot and the outside wide receiver position, so you're not really deadlocked into using them one type of way. There will be ways that you use them. Amari Cooper will be out wide. Elijah Moore will be out wide. Jerry Jeudy will be slot primarily, but you will move them around, have different formations. Basically, if you're Ken Dorsey, you have a lot of pieces in that receiving room to move around, whether it be David Njoku, whether it be Jerome Ford, whether it be Elijah Moore, or whoever you want to move around there. You can move all these pieces. They're very adjustable, and you have a lot of freedom with how you can use those guys. And hopefully that freedom brings with it some creativity, because if the Browns and Kevin Stefanski's offenses in general have been criticized for something fairly, it is at times it feels like they lack answers or creativity or adjustments in games. And having guys who have this flexible of a skill set should be something that provides them with more answers, more creativity, and more adjustability in games in order to get things cracking on that side of the ball. So that's why Ken Dorsey's a winner. The reason why Deshaun Watson's a winner is because he has a very adequate group of wide receivers. Is this wide receiver room overpowered? No, this is not Joe Burrow with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase. This is a regular, pretty good wide receiving room. It's not one that if he throws for 5,000 yards, people are going to say carried him. It's not one that if he doesn't throw for 4,000 yards, people are going to be okay with giving him the excuse that he didn't have help at the wide receiver position. Basically, Deshaun Watson has all the tools in front of him on this roster, at the wide receiving room, to be able to succeed or fail on his own merit. Now, again, you could be rooting for Deshaun Watson. You could not root for Deshaun Watson. You could be wherever you choose to be on the Deshaun Watson debate. I'm not here to police how you feel about that. But if you are a Browns fan, at the very least, what you should want is a year where you can evaluate Deshaun Watson's potential for this team based off of the merits of what he does on the football field, healthy for a significant stretch of time. All this debating that we've done about Deshaun Watson, he has not played more than 6 games in a row. Now, the reason he only played 6 games in a row in 2022, obvious suspension, doesn't really have to do with anything that you feel like can reoccur. Like if Deshaun Watson were put in a situation where he got suspended again, let's be honest about it, he's probably out the league at that point. So it's not like you really worry about him getting suspended. Not that it won't happen, but if it does happen, if he does get suspended, then you get to get rid of that contract off the books pretty much free of charge, because I think it's in the contract that it becomes non-guaranteed if he gets suspended again. And, he'd just be gone. Like, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So you're not worried about a suspension happening again. Where you are worried is what happened last year where he got injured. Now, it's important noting that Deshaun Watson, like, he missed half of his rookie year with the ACL injury, but from 2018 to 2020, he played pretty much every game in his NFL career. He didn't have on and off the field, being able to stay on and off the field issues in that time period, right? In 2022, he didn't have issues staying healthy. It was only last year, and you could really chalk last year up to some freak injuries. Like, both of the injuries that he suffered seemed very improbable to happen. It seemed like a result of just historically awful luck for Deshaun Watson, more so than anything that seems like it could be reoccurring, right? I would be more concerned if he missed a bunch of games because of like a ankle sprain or like a knee flare up or something like that. But the shoulder stuff, it was kind of random when it happened. So random that people started conspiracy theories that he was making the whole thing up. So I'm not going to act like that's something that I really think has a chance to continue to be this reoccurring thing, because it really shouldn't. It doesn't point to it. And nobody that has any credibility in the NFL medical space is indicating that. So if you're Deshaun, you're the Browns, if you're a Browns fan, all you can ask for and all you should want at this point is an opportunity to evaluate him, right? Now, obviously, you want him to play well if you want the team to succeed. But just on a base level, I just really need to know where he is and where he isn't, right? Because I've seen signs that he has that ability still to play plus level quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I've seen at times where it could be a little bit concerning about some of the things that don't seem like they've bounced back from 2020. The book's still out on him. It's unfortunate, but that's the situation that it is. And I know people are like, well, it's been 2 years. He's only played 11 games, but it is what it is. You signed up for a dude that was going to get suspended, so you knew that was going to happen. That's part of the price that they paid for him. And then, he got hurt. You usually don't blame players for getting hurt. So we'll see what happens this year. 2 years into Baker Mayfield, I wanted to see what he could put together in 2020 with a better coach and a better offensive line. I'm going to give Deshaun Watson the same chance that I gave Baker Mayfield in 2020. I think that's the only fair way to go about it. And he has that chance. He has everything he needs at wide receiver. The offensive line is not 2020 levels of good, but it should be good enough for Deshaun Watson to be able to produce. This is a good enough roster on the offensive side of the ball for Deshaun Watson to put up good numbers. Right. I think there is a important distinction to make when people bring up his contract. Does that mean Deshaun Watson has to play top 5 in the NFL? No. Just because he got paid $230 million guaranteed does not mean he has to be the best quarterback in the NFL to justify the trade. What he does have to be is a quarterback of a team that has serious championship expectations. And there was a point last year where it felt like we were trending in that direction. We'll see what happens this year. But that's really what the bar is for Deshaun. I don't know what the numbers would look like with that, but if you feel like this team has serious Super Bowl expectations, he has to factor into that, whether people are going to give him the credit or not. And that's really how you judge it. The Browns got Deshaun Watson to go from playoff team to team that could win the championship. That's what they made the trade for. They didn't make it to have a quarterback throw for more yards. Like, if this team wins 6 games, but he throws for 5,000 yards, nobody cares. So he has all the tools to succeed. I think if you look at this roster, you say to yourself, this is a team that can win a championship if the quarterback position is right. And the way that I judge that is, if Lamar Jackson had this roster, you would think they could win the Super Bowl. If Joe Burrow had this roster, you would think that Joe Burrow could win the Super Bowl. Hell, if Justin Herbert had this roster, you would think that they had a chance to win the Super Bowl. If Trevor Lawrence had this roster, you would think that he had the chance to win the Super Bowl. If Jalen Hurts had this roster, you would think that he has a chance to win the Super Bowl. Deshaun Watson needs to play at the level to where it feels like that. I think all he needs is just games together to put together that body of work because he really didn't have the opportunity last year. Only played 3 games in a row. And we'll see with him, but he's a big winner in this whole situation. JOK is another big winner based on what the Browns did in free agency. I think JOK is a winner because they clearly cleared space to make sure that JOK has all the opportunity and all the room to succeed at Mike linebacker. They made some signings like Jordan Hicks, but they let guys go like Sione Takitaki and Anthony Walker, who would tempt them away from running JOK at the Mike linebacker position. That's what they're going to do with JOK. This screams that his role has expanded, and them expanding this role like this and committing to it this much kind of tells me that JOK is probably getting an extension sometime soon, but we'll see. Jed Wills is another winner in this one because they were able to restructure his 5th-year option. That means that he has a guaranteed opportunity this year to start for the Cleveland Browns. Well, not just a guarantee. He's going to start for the Cleveland Browns at left tackle. That's going to happen for him. And he will be here for this year. They're not going to trade him. They're going to keep him. He's going to start at left tackle. So that is good news if you're Jed Wills. I think that makes him a winner from all the free agency moves and everything else, just because him restructuring his deal guaranteed that he'll be here for this year and get an opportunity, which is better than most, to block on a really good offensive line. Elijah Moore is another winner. I think bringing in Jerry Jeudy is going to help Elijah Moore. I think the issue with Elijah Moore is that the Browns by virtue of them not having enough at wide receiver last year, that forced them to use Elijah Moore in a lot of ways that I don't think worked. For Elijah Moore, right? Like they wanted him to be Deebo Samuel. They wanted him to do this and that and be a quick play guy, when Elijah Moore's specialty has been what he succeeded at doing in the second half of the season this year. So just because of getting Jerry Jeudy, that just guarantees that Elijah Moore is not going to be asked to do a bunch of this stuff that he's not used to doing, and he can be more in his wheelhouse. Hopefully a healthy Watson in an offensive game plan that is more centered out the gun in 3 wide receivers will help him as well. Jerome Ford is my last winner of the day. I think he's a winner because the Browns didn't sign a running back, and the running back market is done with. Like, there's some guys that they can sign in July, but those are names that would be competing with Jerome Ford, not necessarily here to automatically take Jerome Ford's spot. So for that, I think Jerome Ford is a winner in this free agency period. And that's going to be it for today's video. You guys have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.